I found out way after the mission, we're going up fat and happy by ourselves, and then by that time the Germans got us spotted. So every plane in southwest Germany got the word to get up there.
At the height of the Second World War, military service was an almost certainty, whether by draft or enlistment, for any young American man. Recent high school graduate Leon Waldman had determined early on that if he was to serve, it would be with the United States Army Air Forces.
I don't know, I thought it'd be nice to fly. How does an 18-year-old kid make decisions? Everybody's either drafted or joined, so I figure I'll join and get what I want. And I asked for the Air Force, and I got what I wanted. Shipped us to Fort Dix, New Jersey. We got inducted, so they cut your hair and teach you how to salute and give you a uniform. And they put me on a troop train, and of course you don't know where you're going. And where do I wind up in the middle of November? Miami Beach. How good can Uncle Sam be to you, right? Had about, I think, 6 or 8 weeks of basic training. And then I was on the train to Long Beach, California, and it was gunnery school. So I finished that. Then they sent us up to Salt Lake, small arms training. I don't know what we needed that for, because I never used the small arms. And then we went to Las Vegas, and you had to learn the airplane recognition, how to shoot the correct people down and not shoot our own people down, which happened. And then the last 2 weeks, we went up to Indian Springs. And the first week we flew in an AT-6, they called it the Texan Trainer. But the first day was the first time I was ever in an airplane. And the plane's bouncing, and I got airsick. So I stick my head out, but I face forward. And I throw up all over me. That's how smart we were at 19. And then the last week, we flew in B-17s, and you'd fly in all the various gun positions, so you could be trained in all of them. And then they give you your wings, and that's where they form the crews. And I got the waist gun. Clark Gable was a right waist gunner too, you know, so it was good enough for me. We lucked out. They gave us 72 brand new planes. These were the B-17G. It was the first one that had a chin turret. And they were silver. They were the first silver planes, I think, that went to Italy. Oh, and they said, you better take good care of these planes. They cost $250,000. And we said, wow, that much.
Equipped with brand new B-17 Flying Fortresses, Leon and the 483rd Bomb Group were on their way to Italy to join the rest of the 15th Air Force as they fought to stop the spread of German forces throughout Europe. But when the 483rd arrived, they were met with a rude awakening.
So they sent us up to double up with another bomb group that had been there a long time, the 99th. And those dirty guys took our shiny bombers away. We thought they were ours. They took 72 new planes away from us and gave us this beat-up old bad penny up there with 100 missions on it when we got it. 100 missions. So flew the first mission April 12th, but it was like a milk run. It was an easy mission. We were just bombing a cement factory, not a very important target. And I think there was a couple of puffs of smoke came up, and I was looking out the window, and it was a beautiful day, and I thought, boy, this is fun, you know? Well, the next mission, the guy I knew pretty well, he was on another crew. Boom, they hit him in the wing. They hit him with the 88 in the wing, which blows up the gas tanks, and the plane just disintegrates. Nobody lives through that. So I thought, boy, that could get hurt on this job. That's pretty tough, you know. So then I flew a lot of missions after that. Mostly we bombed aircraft factories, bombed a torpedo factory once in France, marshalling yards. I went to Vienna 2 or 3 times. They were making fighter planes. We had to bomb those factories. Ploesti, because that's where the Germans were getting most of their fuel. Munich was a very bad mission.
Flying at times more than 3 missions a week, Leon was well on his way to completing the required 50. But in a moment of frustration and flared tempers, Leon threatened a superior officer, resulting in being grounded from one of the most significant missions in the war.
My co-pilot, I didn't like the co-pilot. I was stupid, and I told him, don't go near the bomb bay on the next mission. So he reported me, and I guess it went up to the squadron commander. So instead of court-martialing me, he took me off that mission. That was my punishment. It turned out to be June 2nd to June 11th, 9 days. Well, what does June 2nd to June 11th tell you? It was D-Day.
The Allied invasion of the French coast was the first step in bringing the war to Germany in an unprecedented way. But for the largest seaborne invasion in history to be a success, it would require a multitude of diversions to keep the German full strength from defending the coast. The bombing missions of the 483rd would do just that.
They flew this mission to Romania, bombed it, and then went on to Russia, and they sat down for a day or two. Then they flew another mission, but that took the pressure off the Western Front somewhat, you see. But that was my contribution to D-Day. But we didn't have newspapers or magazines or radios. You know, D-Day meant nothing to us. Oh, yeah. Heard about, yeah, they landed in Normandy. Well, good. When do we go home?
The D-Day invasion was a success, and the tide began to turn in the Allies' favor. But the skies over Europe were no less dangerous for the 15th Air Force.
We lost 79 planes in the time we were over there. Most of the time, the planes were shot down. So everybody was lost, except those that could jump out, you know.
Come on, you guys, get out of that plane. There's plenty. Come out of the bomb bay.
The worst mission was a place called Memmingen, Germany. They thought it was a milk run, you know, some airfield in Germany. What the hell is that all about? I'm flying along and I don't know what's going on, you know. I thought we were going up to a target with a bunch of other bombers. The Tuskegee Airmen was supposed to fly escort on that mission. Well, I found out way after the mission. We're going up fat and happy by ourselves. 2 of the groups didn't like the weather over the Adriatic and turned around and went home. And 2 other groups went to an alternate target, and the fighters didn't go with us. And then by that time, the Germans got us spotted. Hey, a group of 26 dumb, happy B-17s all by themselves. So every plane in southwest Germany got the word to get up there. And I look out there and I say, wow, a flock of birds. Coming closer and you could see their airplanes. And the next thing I hear, everybody's shooting and planes are going down. The first squadron of 7 planes went down in about 2 or 3 minutes, all of them. And then they started on the other 2. They got 14 out of 26 of us. So 14 planes went down with 143 guys. And we were fighting the rest of them off. The whole battle was about 10 minutes. When we got over the target, we were able to bomb it successfully. They say we destroyed a lot of planes on the ground. But this was the worst mission for my bomb group, and probably for most any bomb group to lose. It was basically 60% of the planes in a few minutes. We got back and landed, and I could see a 20-millimeter shell lodged in the back of the wing, and it was unexploded. Because if it exploded, it would have blown up the tank near it, and we would have all been dead. That's why I call July 18th my second birthday. It was July 18th, 44, that mission.
Just a few weeks later, Leon would finally complete his quota. Having survived 50 bombing missions in German-patrolled skies, he was being sent back to the United States.
When I got home, got to New Jersey, just behind the Statue of Liberty, and then they sent me to Kingman, Arizona, and they trained me to be an instructor, so I was training gunners. The minute the war ended in Europe, they knew they didn't need a lot of gunners in the Pacific, because the B-29s had just a couple of gunners with a lot of remote guns, you know? So they didn't need a lot of gunners.
And just like that, Leon's service in the war came to an end. "75 years later, Leon's memories of the Second World War are clear as ever. The missions he flew and the crew he served with.
But the other guys, they all disappeared. I was close to the pilot, the radio man till he died, and the waist gunner till he died, and Shorty when he died. Most of us were 19, 20, 21 mostly. That's who fought the war.
Hi everyone, I'm Josh from Memoirs of World War II, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching this episode. Our goal is to capture as many World War II veteran stories as we can from all over the world, but we can't do it alone. If you'd like to help us in this mission, consider supporting us through Patreon, and check out our website in the links below for more information. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and click the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. We want to say thank you for your support, and thanks for watching.